Welcome to part 3 of our Influenza and Sepsis series. In this video, we hear the story of a family whose lives have been forever changed. Jo and her family have experienced the extreme effects of flu with her then 15-year-old daughter Tayla was diagnosed with Influenza A and sepsis in 2017. Jo shares their experience and some potential pieces of advice for others. Jo tells us about Tayla's story, red flags to be aware of relating to flu and sepsis, about trusting your gut as a parent. You know your child best, and of course, advocating for your child. Jo also talks about Tayla's post-sepsis journey and how Tayla and her family are doing now. Thank you to Jo for sharing your family's journey with us. And thank you to Alana English from the Queensland Paediatric Sepsis Program for interviewing Jo so beautifully. Let's watch.
Well, there's Paul and myself, and with Tayla, obviously, who is now 19. And she's got 3 younger brothers, Riley, 17, and Harry and Oliver, twins, are 14. And we all live at home still.
With telling us a little bit about Tayla's story. We're aware that she became unwell in 2017.
Yeah.
Can you share with us how that all started for you?
She came down with the flu, and by the time she was presented at hospital, she actually had Influenza A and pneumonia, so it did progress to pneumonia very quickly, and straight by the time I just had to kiss her goodbye, she was rushed from Redlands Hospital straight to Lady Salento's, and we weren't sure whether she was actually going to make the trip. But the symptoms from coming from the flu to everything was very quick and deteriorated. And my biggest message is to, just look for the symptoms, listen to your child, and just really trust your gut instinct, because it can just be the flu and you can get over it, or it can just develop to something a lot worse.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think parents should be aware of? So, because we obviously have a lot of people who have the flu at the moment, a lot of kids who have the flu. What do you think parents should be thinking about if they're being told, yes, you might have the flu symptoms and just go home and rest? What are your suggestions of what parents should think about?
I think the biggest thing is to notice your child, notice their breathing, their complaints. Your child also knows if they're telling you that they are feeling like they're really sick, or I'm dying, mum, or something like that. They're you can see it in their eyes. It's a gut instinct really, because you can have the flu and you can be really sick, or it can go to the next level very quickly. And it's okay just to go. If you have that feeling and you're unsure, you just go and you take them, and you just be quite persistent and say, no, my child needs to be looked at or monitored just in case. Because if sepsis comes in, it's very quick.
Was it, for you, was Tayla presenting more unwell than she'd ever been before? That's something we often hear families talk about in relation to sepsis, that you just never experienced them being this unwell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you're aware of because you've never really heard about it before, so it's not even in your mind. Like a flu is just a flu. So
we hear a lot about this this kind of whole principle of trust your gut.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about that in terms of what you would say to other parents in terms of that? Because it sounds like that's definitely what you did, that you were really trusting your gut in terms of that she was
throughout the whole process. I've had strong gut feelings through everything. And, people question them, but for some reason, it really opened up to me. I never really had it much beforehand, but everything to do with Tayla getting sick, whether it was talking to the doctors or arguing with the doctors, I was very adamant in some instances as to what she needed. Or sometimes I just knew that, and I think because I was there all the time, and you know, your daughter, like, I just never lost any faith. And just the whole process, I just knew she was going to be okay, even though other people didn't. One of the ICU doctors said to me, he said, just if you have a gut instinct of a mother is one of the biggest things. It's something I always listen to. So if you have a feeling about something, you need to say. And that just came with me all the way through the whole journey. In the end, like, because nurses change over all the time, and even though they have their notes and the doctors change over, I was kind of there the whole time, so I saw anything. So it was really easy for me to put two and two together and just go, you know, this is happening. There was a lot of procedures in there that they would kick everyone out, but I was allowed to stay in with as well.
So you were the key connection in terms of the communication.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you tell me, what would you suggest to other parents then in terms of that length of time that you had to manage all of that and all of those extra cares and the hospital admissions and the rehab and all of that? How do you get through that? How do you manage those
every
challenging
day,
times?
just day by day, take everything day by day. A lot of, and also through all this, like, we've got 3 other young boys who I was pretty much separated from for the first year. And that was really hard on them, you know, and hard on me. I felt like I was very torn. But there was only so much you can process, and it was just, each day was just, there was not a lot of forward thinking except for what you had to be done. I don't really know how, you know, Paul became mum and dad at home for the boys, and yeah.
I mean, like you say, it is obviously, the journey's not over, but in terms of where Tayla's at today and how is she going? How's her family going? How are things going in terms of her ongoing impacts?
So once she got to walk in again, she finally went back to school. She missed all of year 10, went straight to TAFE and did year 11 and 12. She did go back to a couple of different schools, but they didn't really work out in between. Too many surgeries, too many interruptions. And just going back through this journey, the whole way through, her kidneys were quite damaged, but they revived themselves quite well, and she had no dialysis, nothing for the whole amount of time. She went to school, and then halfway through, well, exactly a year from now, her kidney function just went downhill very, very quickly, and I gave her one of my kidneys. So yeah, the journey didn't end. And so it's been my last year of recovery because that took it out of me. She was really good, but you know, she went and did her TAFE. She had a surgery a week after she graduated and had her formal. So she's ticked all those boxes. What else? She got her driver's license, which was huge. So there's been quite a few things she's been able to do. It's physical, it's mental, and it affects every ounce of your body. And you don't realise it, and it's 5 years on.
You've spoken though about so much. You've obviously spoken about the challenges, but I think what's really struck me is how you've also spoken about the strengths. You know, Tayla's strengths, your strengths, other family members' strengths. You know, the support and strength of friends and family with you as well.
Yeah. You certainly find it. I mean, I know who my true friends are because I haven't been able to give back a lot because we've all been you get quite depleted in your energy. It drains you, and even as a mum, it hit me probably in 2020, and I felt like a cracked egg on the floor where I finally just went, God, my adrenaline's just still on high, and what's actually happened? And there was a lot of processing for me to do because I hadn't processed any of it. Oh my God, my daughter nearly died, like several times.
Can I ask that you commented on how, you know, in 2020 you were like a cracked egg that analogy is really, it's lovely. How important, because it sounds like what you recognised is that you actually had to pay some attention to that grieving that was required and that process for yourself that you hadn't done. How important is it, do you think, for parents to do that?
Yeah, I realised I had been neglecting myself and I needed to actually do some healing, and it sort of, I started when Tayla didn't, if she had a physio or an exercise like session and she didn't go because she was too tired or because there's a lot of fatigue and everything, I would go. If she missed her psychology appointment, I would go. And I just started just doing a few things like that myself, and I just realised, I hadn't processed anything. So that was, there's a lot of self-care that parents have to be, because they feel like I'd run out of energy, and then I was like, okay, I'm not no good to anyone right now. So I allowed myself to sleep.
Yeah, and try not to feel guilty about it.
And not feel guilty about it.
So, obviously, and you've talked about the whole kind of journey that you had from being in hospital and then being sent home palliative and then back into hospital and in and out for surgeries and stuff. And so, but, I guess even once you got to the point of those surgeries being completed and her being back home and not needing to come into hospital so often, her sepsis journey wasn't over. There's obviously still ongoing impacts, isn't there? Even
then, after that, it was 3 months in rehab. When we went in, we didn't leave till March. And then it was just back and forth, all the different, for another foot amputation. She had a stoma to help her go to the toilet, and then that would come out. I don't know, she's had 56 surgeries over the course of this time.
Goodness me. Just to finish, is there a couple of key things that you want to be able to say to parents who are watching this, so they've tuned into this video because it's a video that's about thinking about your child and your child being really unwell with flu and potentially sepsis? What are the key messages that you'd like them to remember as they finish watching this?
Always go with your gut instinct, no matter what. Be open to try so many different therapies, anything that comes knocking on your door, and don't be discouraged if it's not normal or the norm, or because nothing is. And always listen to your child. They do know their own body. They're quite in tune with themselves, and you're not always right. And try not to control the situation, and always look back and see how far you've come, even if you think you're going sideways or going backwards, and just always have faith. And the other thing is, when someone is really sick in hospital, they can hear you. They know when you're not there, and it's really scary when you're not there and there's no one there, and they hear the machines beeping, and they do feel very alone. So try to have someone around the clock, just always there. It's not always easy to do, but it is really, really important that you talk to them and read to them, whatever, have music playing. We decorated her ICU room with pictures. There was not a machine or a wall that didn't have pictures, flags of the school, did a whole flag to Tayla, and all those things matter. Especially for when they wake up and they see it all. And it helps others because it brings a different energy into the room. It doesn't bring an energy of sickness, it brings an energy of life, and that's really, really important.
Of who they are beyond the sickness.
Yeah.